It's early morning, it's hot, it's sunny, it's Italy, it's Misano. It is the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup, and it's time for qualifying. Welcome to what promises to be a really frantic 20 minutes, because around here, with the biggest sprint race grid we've had since the end of 2017, finding a clear bit of road is going to be really difficult indeed. Track temperature already heading towards 26 degrees, and the team's getting set to venture out onto the circuit. David Addison and John Watson looking forward to, John, what promises to be a really interesting session, and to an extent, I suppose, a bit of pot luck, because you've got to somehow manage the traffic and try and get a clear lap, which is going to be really tough, isn't it?
Indeed, 30 cars on a 4.2 kilometre racetrack, 16 turns. We know it's always a very busy racetrack. I mean, just finding that one clear lap, if you can achieve it, will be a miracle. And I'm sure 30 drivers are looking for that miracle.
Now, this is the lap. It's got some fast sections, John. It's got some twisty sections too.
Yes, I mean, the main part of the racetrack, the fastest part, is the exit of turn 10, all the way down through the dogleg at 11, another dogleg at 12. Watch out on the entry into 13, track limit abuse. Drivers have been warned, they've been briefed, they've been told you're allowed to put two wheels over that demarcation white line, all for time deleted. And time deleted in a 20-minute qualifying session could mean you're starting down the back of the grid.
Could indeed. So yesterday the teams had free practice, they had pre-qualifying, and if you take the pre-qualifying as the better guide, because that's when it gets really serious at the end of the day, it was Christopher Hauser who was the fastest in the Santalock Audi. He did a 132.552. That is the kind of time we're looking for, but of course now it really is pressure time, and as soon as the lights go green, we're about, what, 2.5 minutes away from the session getting underway. It's going to be really busy out there, as I keep saying. Now, it's one driver, one session, so remember, the guy that's in the car now starts today's race, and it will only be him in the car in this qualifying period. That means that driver ones are being strapped in, and therefore Dynamic Motorsport Adrian Delina, he's going to be the first driver. We have a second Porsche, incidentally, as part of this ever-expanding entry at Allied Racing, the team coming into Sprint Cup this weekend for Julien Apotelos and Klaus Bachler. And certainly when Klaus Bachler is behind the wheel, it's going to be a quick car. The Bentley, John, really impressive at Zandvoort, wasn't it?
They've done really, I think, extremely well. Both cars were quick. The note that I made was that the two Bentleys were consistently the fastest cars in a straight line. And here again at MISANO, a very important quality to have that straight line speed out of turn 10 all the way down to turn 13. But one thing, David, just in that pre-qualifying session, that ran between 5 o'clock in the evening until 20 past 6 in the evening. Totally different time of the day, totally different ambient and track temperatures. We're now coming up to 20 to 10 in the morning. It is a little bit cooler, but the track is also that little bit, maybe call it fresher than it would have been at the end of a long, long Friday.
True enough. They have yet to go out, of course, today, the GT3 cars. The circuit not terribly rubbered in, because although there's been one previous practice session this morning, finished a few minutes ago, it didn't have that many cars in it. As you look from the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari, Giorgio Roda will do driving duties in this session. And that car, of course, one of those that runs in the Silver Cup. Championship being led after the Zandvoort races by Ricardo Feller, who has been one of the standouts this year. He is half a point up on Charles Wirtz and Dries Van Thor. They're on 41 points, as also is Alex Fontana. Then you've got Raffaele Marciello and Timo Boguslavski somewhere back on 28.5 points. But Ricardo Feller and indeed Emil Frey Racing, mighty, mighty impressive at Zandvoort. Less so, this Ferrari, Louis Machiel's had an off, so also did Andrea Bertolini. So they need to fight back in Pro-Am, get some points on the board. Sticker tyres going on, and that, John, a great feeling for a driver, isn't it? A brand new set of tyres.
And all it does is just reassert that it is important that when you go out on those brand new sticker tyres, you know that the first flying lap is going to be your best opportunity, but will you be able to exercise that opportunity? It is going to be the same for everybody in the field. I suspect some of the potential front runners may hang back a little bit and let the rest of the field go out and squabble amongst themselves looking for that clear lap. Looking at some set of used tyres. That was the car that ended up quickest yesterday. Christopher Hauser behind the wheel. everybody, the quickest laps overall have all been in the middle, 1 minute 32.5, maybe a 1:32.4. So that's got to be the benchmark time. I suspect qualifying will see a pole time maybe just breaking into the high 1 minute 31s. But it's a question of when do you go out? Can you go out and find that clear lap? Can you go out and use those brand new tyres to maximum effect?
And are you better off doing it at the start of the session where it's a little bit cooler, because in 20 minutes time temperatures will have gone up? So are the cars, are the tyres going to work better now or in 20 minutes time?
I think my inclination would be to hang back a little bit. The concern that you have, you never know if there's going to be a red flag or you have a full course yellow or anything that could interfere with your plans. That makes the gamble, the rolling of the dice, to stay back, wait maybe 5 or 8 minutes before you go out. That could be your big compromise. So you have to make that assessment, that judgment. That luckily is not down to the driver, that's down to the team management. Look how dusty and dirty it is as the cars come out of turns 4 and 5. Now that's something that all the drivers will take note of, because they don't want to clog that brand new set of Pirelli rubber, lovely and soft and gooey and sticky, with loads of track dust.
So the field gradually working its way out on track, and at the end of not this lap, but give it another 2 or 3, we'll start to focus on lap times and see what the grid is going to look like. And also I fear that there's going to be discussion during this session about the dreaded track limits. As you look at number 99, the attempt to Audi, Alex Arca drives that in this first session. Just going through the shot there was the Motorsport McLaren, Ollie Wilkinson at the wheel. Good to have that car back. We missed it at Zandvoort, didn't we?
Yes, and I understood that they were going to be at Zandvoort, but a car that has been very competitive the last round in a sprint round that we saw the car was, of course, in Manicourt, where Oliver Wilkinson did a very good job in the Sunday race.
Yeah, I understand it was all to do with COVID and travel dramas that got in the way for Jota and Zandvoort. Anyway, it's good to have them back. As you look at Alex Fontana then in the Emile Frey Racing Lamborghini. Now, this is our first chance really to see what a flying lap looks like around Misano, John.
Yes, interesting exit out of turn 4 into 5, running very high. So I suspect that literally by the sector or by the lap, we'll see lap times, a lot of purples coming up against a lot of different drivers' names into one of the overtaking areas. Always controversial. Now, running how wide is that? I mean, is that going to be a lap time that will be deleted because he's run way, way over that white demarcation line? It is a major issue here in Misano. That was a part of it coming out of turn 8. We'll see what happens coming down into turn 12, where we're now watching the Lamborghini come down that back, that dogleg straight through the first part, turn 11. Then it'll be 12, and then finally, where most drivers get caught out, is into the entry into 13, where we are now. So how well he stays just about within the limits there, but I thought he ran over the limits up at the exit of turn 8.
Well, it's going to end up being a good lap, isn't it? The target is by Benji Goethe, 134.6, so a little way off what they were doing yesterday. Leo Roussel is doing good things in the sectors. Alex Fontana then, one of the 4 different winners we've had across the 4 sprint races thus far, breaks the beam and does a 1:35.309. So actually goes second fastest, doesn't go to the top, surprisingly.
I don't know the reason why, but maybe he feels that I'll get more out of the set of tyres on my second flying lap, as Charles Veart saw the 32 Audi, which had been pretty much the dominant car, and Audis had been very dominant all the way through the Thursday and the Friday running. So Charles Veart's behind the wheel of a car that is always going to be a serious contender, whichever way you look at it. That takes a lot of curve at the inside going through that cut through turn 6.
Riding with him, speed building and a lift, go left, takes a big bite of curb on the inside, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, everywhere you look, I mean, the curbs here are very flat. There's a reason for that, because this is a racetrack known as the Marco Simoncelli Autodromo. Great motorcyclist tragically lost his life.
99 cancelled, track limits T13.
Now, the voice you just heard is Alain Adon, the race director, saying the last lap for number 99 cancelled for track limits at turn 13. 99 is Alex Arca in the Attempto Audi. So straight away, John, track limits an issue.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're sitting here in the commentary booth. We're not Einsteins. We can see what's going on. Sorry about that. But look, it is a racetrack because the curbs are flat, predominantly because motorcycling is massive here at MISANO Adriatico, or Marco Simoncelli, as I probably know it now better. That is there to accommodate motorbikes because they tend to tumble a lot, and they tumble across flat curbing, which do protect the motorcyclist. But of course, it invites the driver to take a big chunk out of the inside, or sometimes on the exit of a corner. And it's turn 13 in particular, where I'm sure Alain Nadin is going to be keeping his hawk eye to see who's transgressing track limits.
Now, right now, we have a Mercedes 1-2. Lukas Stolz has gone fastest. You're looking at Giorgio Roda, who is 21st. Remember, this is one of the Silver Cup cars, and he's way out wide there, isn't he, as he bounces out of turns 4 and 5. But it's Stolz, Rick Brokers is second, so Mercedes 1-2. Charles Wirtz is third. Change all that because you've got an Audi second now. Frank Bird going nicely, number 31 WRT Audi, the car that he shares with Roichi Tomita. That's now up to second. Make that third. Albert Costa for Lamborghini now goes quickest. So Giorgio Roda here, hard at work, but the times are tumbling. A 32.9 now. We're heading towards the pre-qualifying best.
I think maybe the racetrack needs cars on it, needs lots of cars on it. The overnight rest that it had, and we only had some touring cars, a small number on prior to this session getting underway. The track, certainly we noticed coming out of turn 5, was very, very dirty indeed. So maybe it is going to be the closing seconds, if not minutes, of this 20-minute session, just over 12 minutes to go, that the times will begin to come. And the benefit of running a new set of tyres, not everybody went out on a brand new set of tyres, so some would have gone out on what the tyre they used yesterday evening to get some sighting laps, just to get a feel of the racetrack. And then with maybe 5 or 8 minutes to go, pop on a brand new set of sticker Pirellis and go out and nail it.
Now, Charles Wirtz has nailed it because he's now gone fastest on a 32.7. Giorgio Roda improves briefly up to 19th, and then he gets pushed back down to 20th because Alex Arca has now got a time on the board. So Charles Wirtz the fastest, a 1:32.722, and Jim Pla is up to second fastest now, number 87 Mercedes. There is the Allied Racing Porsche. That's the new Porsche into the entry for the weekend. Julian Apotelos at the wheel of it, and we've yet to get a time out of Timur Boguslavski or Constant Lapalainen. Ulysse de Pauw here, the Belgian driver in the Bentley. He's absolutely storming along, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, the Bentley has been very impressive all year. Again, that's down at turns 13 into 14. So I think you'll get away with quite a lot down there as long as you don't try to be greedy. And it's the driver that is really greedy about how much racetrack or exit of the racetrack. Now there's a perfect exit out of turn 16. That is what a racing driver should do, and de Pauw did a very good job, gone 6th quickest in the Bentley, 1:32.9.
So that moves him up to the outside of the third row of the grid. Good effort that for the Belgian driver, who is new to GT cars this year. Now, we've just had another improvement. Benji Heites, the Colombian driver, goes up to 5th, and Jim Pla now goes to the very top. So there he is, look, number 87 Mercedes, 001 on the windscreen, the Lumirank display signifying his position.
Last lap time car 163 cancelled. Track limits turn 8.
Right, Albert Costa, track limits turn 8 now, so he gets done and therefore loses his lap time. We're halfway through the session.
Again, you can see down at turn 13, the Porsche Adrian Delena going way, way, way wide. So that last track limit for Albert Costa was on the exit of turn 8, a corner that invites you to run way wide over the curbing, and they consequently get into trouble. So all those hard yards you've done on the first half of the racetrack, you might as well just coast all the way back and get stuck in for one more lap. And in fact, Albert Costa right now, on his next lap following that time, has gone fastest overall sector 2.
And then pits, look, Bales at the end of the lap.
Yep.
So having proved what he can do in the middle, heads into the pit lane. Interesting.
I wonder, was that actually, they're just saying that, was that purple sector time as a consequence of a track limit abuse?
Maybe, maybe. Well, right now, this car has gone quickest in Sector 1. Leo Roussel at the wheel of the number 25 Santaloc Audi. And Leo Roussel, who's got a good pedigree in sports prototypes, class champion in LMP2, for example, in ELMS, now coming to GT cars. He's down in the middle sector of the lap, but let's see whether or not this is going to bring him up the order, because right now he's fourth. It's Pla, Weerts, Stoltz, Roussel, Heities, and then Aurélien Panis. 6th, 7th DePauw, 8th Costa, 9th Oscar Tunho, and 10th Frank Bird. So we've got some of the big names yet to really break into the leading order, as Leo Roussel is another one who goes for the pit lane, having done an absolute best sector time.
Yeah, the reason I think did it is because he got held up badly in that middle sector, and he wasn't going to improve his cars directly ahead of him. So he'd gone first sector, good time indeed, but then lost half a second in that middle sector. So there's no point pounding around and around and around. And in fact, now you're seeing a lot of cars coming in, do a quick tire change, go back out. Track has not been overly congested from what I've seen. The trouble is, if you get into a group of cars, then you're really stuck. And one of the difficulties, as we've seen more or less all through the season at a variety of different racetracks, the balance of performance means the performance of all these cars are so close. It is hard on certain circuits where bends flow one after the other to get a clear lap, to get through cleanly and maintain your motivation.
We're also...
I should say your momentum, not your motivation.
Yes, agreed. I was going to say we've also just tripped past that halfway point. So the team's electing now to break the session in half, put on another set of new tyres. So look at the clock ticking down. We're heading towards the last 8 minutes. This is the fastest car, but leaving the pit lane now, car after car after car on a new set of Pirellis. This now gets the real pressure cooker part of the session.
Indeed, so Charles Weerts is coming into the pits, so that WRT Audi will be in, and up on the axle stands as we look at the 87, which is Jim Pla. I mean, he has been amongst the Audis consistently over the 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and now this morning.
Nelson Panciatici at the wheel of Bentley number 108. There's more in the pits than on the track at the moment. So if you are on a new set of tyres, now is your chance to get clear track space, do the lap. Julien Potelos is currently 25th. I mentioned him because he's new to the championship, first time out. The other Porsche, the dynamic Porsche of Adrian Delina, sits in the pit lane, ready to go. But Charles Weerts is currently the fastest, and with just over 7 minutes to go, if you're waiting now for your ideal moment, you're risking running out of time.
Absolutely, and the last thing you want to do, look, loads of new tyres ready to go on to the 107 Bentley, but you need to get out, because you can't guarantee that if you wait for 3 minutes or 4 minutes before the session is over, and that's only 2 minutes away, that you will get that clear lap. There is a car, the 88 Mercedes, which unquestionably is a potential pole sitting car. Currently, Timo Berger-Slawski only down in 15th position, but there's no urgency to get him out.
And okay, it's a relatively short lap. It's just over 1.5 minutes, but you've got to get out. You've got to do the out lap. Then you've got to go for it, even assuming your first flying lap is going to be absolutely on point. So, yeah, it does seem remarkably laid back, this. Could be dangerous.
It is. I'm just looking at the rear of the Mercedes, the sculpture in carbon fibre, the way that the air flows around the rear of the car. Now, that's not the diffuser. You're looking at the diffuser's the piece of carbon fibre that's actually underneath the car. But just the remarkable development of these, what are fundamentally road-going GT cars, which are now in their GT3 configuration. Somebody made a comment, I think just recently, that thinking back to when GT3, was it 10 years ago, 8 years ago, when it became the formula that we're now enjoying, the pace of the cars back then is now the equivalent pace to a current GT4 car. Such has been the pace of development around restrictive regulation, but engineers and engineering always will have the high ground.
Absolutely right. And here's one of the stalwarts of GT3 over the years, Louis Macchiels, the multiple Pro-Am champion, whether it's been in endurance or sprint races, and a stalwart SRO racer, Louis Macchiels, for the AF Corsa team. Right, 5 minutes on the clock. So we've still got a handful of cars in the pit lane. Valentin Pierberg, Alex Fontana, Timo Bogostowski, Jordan Love, Jim Pla, Charles Weerts, the drivers of said cars. But they are starting to usher themselves out onto the circuit. This lap for Louis Macchiels not suggesting it's going to be an improvement. You see Delina and their Nelson Panciatici's Bentley weaving around, trying to get the tyre temperatures and pressures up. They're doing that as others ahead on a cycle are looking to try and do a time.
Yeah, and the big concern is those that have gone on to a flying lap are going to meet those that are going out to do an outlap, and those on an outlap, of course, are not necessarily running at the pace that a driver on a flying lap is. So Louis McNeil's coming up towards the completion of a lap into the penultimate corner, and now into turn 16. You've got to get a nice early entry and then launch the car. Lovely exit, good drive. So where will this leave? The Ferrari goes across the line, stays 27th.
Now, currently, Aurélien Panis, Olivier Panis' son, has done an absolute best within the first sector. This is Oscar Tunjo, who has done 2 personals, but number 26 Audi could be the next one to keep an eye to, because that, as I say, has done an absolute best in sector 1. Let's just get Tunjo up towards the timing line. He's about to come through the curve of Misano, the last corner on the lap, and will break the beam. 9th is Tunjo at the moment, and should be an improver as he comes now past the pits. Yes, goes up to 4th then, so good effort by the Colombian driver. But Aurélien Panis, number 26, there he is, an absolute best, followed by a personal best. Albert Costa, number 163 Lamborghini, has gone even quicker in the first sector, so that's why now Aurélien Panis is shown with greens, not purples. Purple is better than anybody. Green, personal best. Yellow, bit slower than you were last time. But it's still looking good for Panis, this, John, as he heads up towards the line.
Very much so, through 2 greens, so he's improved in each of the first 2 sectors. Currently 7th, crosses the beam now. Fastest in the sector, fastest overall.
Really good effort, a 32.4 that lap, so quicker than we had in pre-qualifying yesterday, but now it's all bets off, because Albert Costa, quicker than anybody in the first sector, but he's down in the middle and he's way wide there, isn't he?
He's wide. Also, he's got traffic directly ahead of him, which will not be ideal, because he'll want a clear run through turns 15 and then up to the final corner. Oh, how wide was he there? So Albert Costa has gone way wide, lost all the momentum, all the hard yards done in the first sector. He's allowed to slip away. Currently 10th, still goes quickest overall, amazingly, going that wide. I mean, a bucking Bronco. I never called a Lamborghini that. A bucking bull, but not a bucking Bronco.
Makes you wonder what it could have been.
Bucking.
Yes, beautifully enunciated. Yes, we can stay on air, John. I'm glad about that. It makes you wonder what he could have done had it not been so scrappy, because it was a mess. Look who's gone second, Ulysse de Pauw, up to 2nd fastest. This is Charles Weerts, and with another lap, he's going to get 2 more laps, in fact, out of the session. He comes up towards the line. It's green. Sector 1, Sector 2 is this, an improvement. He breaks the beam and he goes quickest. So Charles Weerts, a 32.333, fastest by 51 thousandths of a second, but we're not done yet. Aurélien Panis is the next one. 2 personals, John.
Yeah, I mean, it's a battle between the Audis. Weerts has grabbed a provisional pole. I have a feeling, I thought Panis might have made it. That last sector, he lost time again, finding himself catching up to the rear of traffic. There's an element of, traffic around you loses. You don't lose concentration, but it changes your focus. Plus also the potential of the aero wash of the car you're following, having a bearing on how your car will balance. Wow, the Mercedes goes out into the gravel as it comes onto the straight, and very wisely pulls over to the right and bails on that lap.
So this is Ulysse de Pauw, personal best, number 107 Bentley, again, way out wide, coming through that turn 13-14 sequence. Just about gets away with that, but we'll see what the race director, what the officials decide at the end of it. But Ulysse de Pauw, let's just get him over the timing line. Looking good, graduate from the BRDC British F3 Championship, in which he raced last year, was a race winner, new to GT racing, adapting well, lost out in the last sector, stays 4th.
Not many cars, this is one of them, that potentially could challenge for that coveted pole position, but not with a spinner, 66. And that is whereabouts? I think it's maybe a turn 8. Is that the exit of turn 8? It's just difficult to see from that camera angle. So the Audi, there will be maybe a localized.
Red flag.
I was going to say localized yellow, but it is a red flag. 18 seconds to go. Session is over.
It is, because although the clock will stop, there's no point going out, because you can't do anything. You can't even get back to the line in 18 seconds. So we just got Leo Roussel, number 25 Audi, up to 2nd in the times, 18 thousandths down on Charles Weerts, and those that were leaving it late have been scuppered, really, in their plan by that red flag. A quick word about Timo Bogoslawski. He did get it right, just about in time, 88 up to 8th before the very end, but frustration that the flag came out, but a strange session in some respects, because some of the fancied names never really got on with it.
It can be the case, and certainly the 88, talking about Timo Boguslavski, and it is a very, very competitive grid, and you've got for the first 2 rows covered by nothing. I mean, you're talking about hundredths of seconds, and if you're maybe a tenth of a second away, well, that's too much. There is the 66 Audi being. Now was that? To me, that might have been contact, because I don't know how a car would get there at more or less the entry into turn 8. So I wonder if we might have one of our excellent cameramen might have picked that up as the car would have been entering. Could have been contact, maybe something we're not aware of. But anyway, a long way into the gravel at a part of the racetrack, wouldn't really imagine Charles Verts. No, that's not Charles Verts.
No, it's Leo Roussel, I think.
Leo Roussel, yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't look. Charles Verts is about double the height of Leo Roussel.
Well, Leo, with his best ever qualifying in a GT3 car, absolutely delighted, isn't he?
I think so too. I mean, that's a very. I mean, Santa Lock, that 25 Audi was the car ultimately, but was quickest. That turned out quickest last night, but that was Christopher Hasse behind the wheel. I mean, it is Audi Central, I think, right now here in Misano Adriatico, and the nearest challenger is Albert Costa. Of course, that car, the 163, is coming from a big hit in the testing at Spa, pre-24-hour test.
Absolutely so. Let's look at the times at the end of Q1. This is the provisional order for today's 1 hour race. Charles Weerts then fastest by 18 thousandths of a second from Leo Roussel. Albert Costa third ahead of Ulysse de Pauw, then Aurélien Panis fifth. Jim Plow's Mercedes sixth from the similar cars of Lukas Stolz and Timo Boguslavski and Rick Brokers and Oscar Tunjo. 11th, the Lamborghini of Alex Fontana. McLaren 12th, thanks to Waddy Wilkinson. Number 108, Bentley next. Nelson Panciatici ahead of Benja Highties and then Frank Bird. 16th is the Garage 59 Aston of Thomas Tuiler ahead of Adrian Delina's Porsche. 18th, Ben Goethe ahead of Alex Arca, and then Jordan Love, the Australian. We've got the top 22 covered by a second, which include therefore Constant Lapalainen and Fabien Laverne, whose spin has brought out the red flag, so expect him to drop away. He'll have his best lap taken away as the cause of the stoppage. Petru Umberescu 23rd from Giorgio Roda, Finlay Hutchison, and then Louis Machiels. Julian Apotelos 27th from Valentin Pierberg, returning Miguel Ramos 29th, and then Alexander West rounding out the order. So that is how we stand provisionally at the end of qualifying, subject to anything that the stewards need to look at, and we've just had confirmation that the best lap time of car number 66 will be cancelled for causing the red flag. So frustration for newcomer Fabien Laverne, but there's a lot to celebrate at Santa Lock. But yeah, interesting, isn't it, the way that you've got those 2 Audis up there, and although Mercedes couldn't get themselves higher up than 6th, John, when you do get to a Mercedes, there's a whole raft of them all in a queue.
I mean, I don't know, that's a reflection of the nature of the racetrack, that it just maybe happens to be more of an Audi circuit than a Mercedes circuit. I always look at Mercedes and think, what a well-rounded GT3 package it is. So while we've got domination from Lamborghini and Audi, and also Bentley getting in there, which is a great job by de Pauw to get the Bentley up into the second row of the grid. It's going to be a hard race for the first of the Mercedes on the third row of the grid, Jim Plow, and then Lukas Stolz, Timo Boguslavski, and Rick Brokers in the Mad Panda Motorsport on Friday was very quick indeed. That car was second quickest in one of the 2 Friday sessions.
This is how we are in terms of the championship right now for the point for pole position being factored in. So Dries van Thor, Charles Weerts now take over the championship lead from Riccardo Feller. Alex Fontana takes third, Raffaele Marciello, Timo Boguslavski next ahead of Albert Costa, and then the Mauro Engel, Lukas Stolz combination next. But the point for pole then just tipping Van Thor and Weerts, because they share the point, ahead in the championship now. So a change for championship lead, and we'll see what the race does to all of this when the lights go out later on today. Giorgio Roda's Ferrari put away into the garage, the Sky Tempesta racing car, and that's the one that has been very, very competitive, no matter what championship, sprint or endurance. Sky Tempesta have done a really good job with that. It's part of the AF Corsa stable, so you anticipate it to be good, and Giorgio Roda himself is getting faster and faster every time out. So in the Silver Cup, that's going to be a car to look for later on today. There's Louis Macchiel's and Andrea Bertolini's car nestling in the garage next to it. And as far as Charles Wirtz is concerned, a really good job done in that qualifying session. And we're talking of tiny, tiny margins, what, 18 thousandths just between the top two on the grid. So nothing at all really splitting the cars, but fantastic race in prospect. And MISANO normally gives plenty of drama, so anticipate more when we get the cars out on track. The race is due to be in business at around about 3 o'clock local time today. Let's hear though from poleman Charles Wirtz. He's with our reporter Gemma Scott.
Charles, congratulations. That's what you wanted. The pole time is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I mean, really happy about this for sure. We've got a great car for the whole weekend. Every time we've been driving on good tires, we've been in the front, so I really wanted to be again in the front here. And yeah, I mean, this year I really set as a target to do some poles, and yeah, to have my second pole here, it's really great. I'm really happy. The team did great. Car was really good. Yeah, gaps are quite small, so yeah, competition seems to be also quite on point. So race should be interesting, but yeah, for the time being, I'm really happy with the pole.
And of course, the temperature's likely to go much higher by the time we get to the race.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see how it goes now, because you can start from pole but not score any points. So let's see how it goes, and let's do our best.
Well done.
Thank you.
See you later.
It's fascinating, isn't it, in a way, to see how Charles Wirtz has developed as a driver over the seasons and gets better and better all the time. He's not peaked yet. Let's just look back at the highlights of Q1. Drivers in the cars, teams getting the first set of tyres on as the 20-minute session got underway. Everybody venturing out onto the circuit, looking for clear track space. And straight away, the likes of Amel Frey Racing's Alex Fontana pushing hard, so was Charles Wirtz, and both of them trading the top time early in the session. Elista Powell was another driver quick in number 107 Bentley. The car able to stretch its legs around here. We had Jim Plough's Mercedes at the top of the times briefly. The ASP entry going faster than anyone, but ultimately it was this car, number 32 Audi of Charles Wirtz, which went fastest, but it was the narrowest of narrow margins, just 18 thousandths of a second, putting the Audi at the top in a session that ultimately had an Audi 1-2 and also was brought to a halt with a red flag as Fabien Leverne had a spin into the gravel and caused the stoppage. Qualifying was lively. The race promises to be just as good. We'll see you for that later on in the day. For now, from Gemma, from John and from me, it's goodbye.